Hello and welcome back to the platform. If it isn't another episode of leadership, motivation and inspiration, I do not know what it is. We have returned with yet another beautiful discussion centered around equipping our young people for the future. In today's episode, we're joined by respected human resources practitioner and managing director of AM Recruitment Services. She talks about how she stayed on top of her game for a number of years and, of course, being the leader of a top talent acquisition firm in Eswatini. To pair up our leader for the day, we do have bright participants who join us at the table to ask those fiery questions on behalf of Eswatini. Let's meet them and get straight into our discussion.
Hello, my name is Michelle Vilagati and I am from Matapa.
Hello, my name is Dr. JJ Wall. I'm from the beautiful sunny city of Manzini.
Hello, my name is Simbonile Ngcobo. I'm from Gonini in the Manzini region.
Hello, my name is Clementine Anstrachen. I'm born and bred in Eswatini and I live in Mbabane.
I currently work for Stanley Eswatini. I am the head of operations looking after our day-to-day processing and investment operations.
So I'm currently a medical doctor at Bobani Government Hospital.
So I'm currently building my career in the human capital field, where I'm passionate about people development, talent growth, and just creating positive workplace experiences.
Currently, I have been a recruitment consultant for about 9 years. I'm currently transitioning into radical corporate wellness, bringing a new and fresh approach to how we can heal our efficient workers as worker bees in Eswatini.
Well, to be honest with you, since I was a child, I've always wanted to maximize shareholder value. Well, that's a joke. The reason I chose this career path is because I feel like finance is a very important economic booster, and it's important for women to participate in the growth of the economy.
I chose this career path because I was very interested in the mind, and I realized that I had to become a doctor, understand the body first before I could specialize in the mind itself.
I chose human capital because I've always been passionate about people. I enjoy understanding what drives them, and I enjoy understanding what motivates them, as well as just contributing to them reaching their fullest potential and their overall personal and professional development.
As someone who grew up in a dynamic and complex environment, I was exposed to different kinds of human behaviors, and I thought to myself, transitioning into the workplace, there's no way we can coexist. So as a service-bound person, I'm looking at exploring new and fresh ways of getting people who are passionate about their careers to remain efficient and also prolong the growth of their careers.
Some of my career highlights over the last couple of years involve being a participant in, financial inclusion as part of my previous work as pricing manager at Standard Bank Eswatini. I think it was a huge goal for us to get financial participation across various regions of Eswatini and demographics that weren't fully represented in the economy.
So some of my career highlights would have to be broken down into pre-medicine, where I worked in a social initiative where I was able to increase their revenue, increase partnerships, and create sustainable systems that they still use even now.
I think one of my greatest achievements throughout my career has just been being given the opportunity to sit at the table with decision makers and actually influence their decisions that affect our people in the workspace.
I really believe that today's discussion will be edifying, that I'll walk away from this discussion not only improve myself, but with the ability to, grow others. I look forward to learning.
I think I want to be a great leader and a great business owner in my life later on, and I think today's mentor is great for that because she'll teach me exactly how it is to interact with people and work with people within the human resource space.
I believe I deserve a seat at the table with today's mentor because I'm an individual who is committed to continuous learning. I value mentorship, and as well I'm in a position where I welcome contributions in how I can grow my career further as a way to further shape my journey and as well broaden my perspective.
I deserve to sit at today's table with today's mentor because on a personal level, she is somebody who has been somebody who I've been able to draw inspiration from. But I know that she has a wealth of knowledge to share specifically to the youth that we have at the table. The professionals we have are dynamic, but all of them are within challenging spaces. And as someone who has blossomed in a challenging space as a woman. I believe she has a lot to offer.
And with that said, now that we have met our participants, we'd like to welcome you to the table of a conversation centered around youth development through mentorship. In today's conversation, as said, we are joined by Mrs. Carol Ngcobo, who is, of course, the Managing Director of AM Recruitment Services. And, of course, she sits as a respected human resources practitioner here in the Kingdom of Eswatini. To you, Mrs. Ngcobo, thank you so much for honoring us with your time here. You know, we do not take it for granted. You know, they haven't said it yet, but we obviously do not take it for granted. You know, having you here as a leader, a mentor, and someone, a seasoned professional in the human capital space for us means a lot, especially to equip the young people of Eswatini. We want them to have as bright of a future as you have had. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Tapelo, for having me, and it's an honor and a privilege. I don't take it for granted. I am here to serve, and for me, it is giving back to the Eswatini community and the country as a whole.
You're at the top of one of Eswatini's leading talent acquisition firms that has become a trusted, partner for so many organizations in Eswatini and, of course, just job seekers. How does the agency now help young professionals access employment opportunities, and what can job seekers do to increase their chances of standing a chance, in the competitive recruitment process?
Thanks, Tapelo. At AM Recruitment, we are a bridging gap. We connect emerging talents directly with high-performing organizations. Okay. We've got a lot of organizations that come and tap into us. And to stand out as a graduate or a young person in the competitive market, you really need to be able to move away from the passive CV that you write, move away from the traditional, move away, get to see what your value proposition and the achievements that you've made that you really want to look at. And for me, it is researching about the organization that you want to go into and prepare yourself. So tailor-make your CV that it speaks and it stands out. Don't go into the tradition where you're putting the modules and and all those things. and you're saying professionalize it to contemporary. Let it stand out and let it be the thing that will speak and give the first impression. Just how you write it. A lot is happening is that, people are putting things like the modules, all of them. And I'm thinking, okay, so that is, let it stand out, let it be clear. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, wow, that's very insightful. And I'm so glad you spoke about value proposition. I think Eswatini's youth unemployment remains one of the highest in the region, regrettably. So for the young people who are at home, who've got their CVs written out and now they're in the face of a recruiter, what do you think are the biggest reasons that despite having qualifications, they're just not getting across the line?
Qualifications get you to the start line. It's the foundation, you understand? Take the qualification and put it on the table. It's not going to do the job. It just doesn't get you to the race. But, the struggles as, the gap. More than anything, it's looking at employability skill sets that we're looking for. Do say to me that I'm a critical thinker. This is what I've done. I'm a problem solver. Do say to me that, I have started and this is where my achievements are. So basically, the qualification, but at the same time, qualification without experience becomes a non-starter. So it is a foundation, but we build on it. It's building blocks. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that really is insightful, especially for an individual. And we also then look at the idea of youth employment as being everyone's responsibility, but we tend to think that it's going very slowly. So if I were to then give you the authority to then look at the government, universities, school, and the private sector, if you were to suggest to them one thing that they need to implement or prioritize and why, what would you say?
Thanks, JJ. You know what, Doctor? For me, it is saying to the University of, the university in Eswatini, UNESWA, Ngcobo Medical, let's look at the curricula. Let us as private sector customize what we want in terms of the curriculum. Let us not go in and give a curriculum that I did in the 80s. You know, what has changed? And I'm happy to say, UNESCO this morning I was just reading, you know, they have a conference on the health coming up. And yes, the other day they had something on AI, the academy on accounting, because we're getting ready and basically making sure that we also then move away from the curricula. Once we've developed it, mismatch of skill set, we then move into then the graduate. What do we do? Subsidize the internship pipeline program. I currently have an internship student who's finished 12 weeks from Ngcobo, but that needs to be funded. You know, they have to buy soap, they have to do something. And then the last one is SME incubation support. You know, everyone is looking for jobs. Are there jobs? Are we finding the jobs? Be the job creators. You know, this morning I was talking to my daughter and she's saying, Mom, we are just doing so many things. We're forming this company, and we're doing a consultancy. Get out, mix together. Even yourself, let us not look at government only. Let us be the ones who create employment for ourselves.
Oh, that's very interesting. Thank you so much for that. Being the managing director of AM Recruitment Services, you have a wealth of experience in recruitment and the hiring space. What, throughout your experience, what skills have you seen to be lacking from our young people today that employers are looking for?
Simbo, we have technical skills, core, right? You go to the factories, the manufacturing, the sugar industry, they will be looking for a boiler maker. They will be looking for skills, you know, expect analytical and those things. You have drawings, technical, all the technical. But what is really and very much lacking, for instance, engineers, even doctors, you understand, even the insurance, you know, even the hospitality. Soft skills, how you talk to people, you understand? That softness, that humility, that solving problem, the basics, you know, the empathy, you know, to show that empathy and emotional intelligence, be able to balance that. The softer skills do the trick. That technically, yes, you can. But for instance, engineers don't know how to talk because they want to just fix. For me, it is making sure that even the digital aspect of things now, you know, coming into, because what is happening is that the generation that we have, we can talk to them, but they are on their gadgets, understand? And then you also have to tap into that. So for me, it is basically adapting quickly to what is taking place in the world, you know? You look at the Trumps, you know, technically, and you know, you remember The Apprentice, you know, soft skills, how they sell themselves. I think for me, that is what is important, being able to just take and make sure that you take your seat on the table.
Thank you so much for that, Ngcobo. My question for you is, some people believe that hard work alone will lead to career growth and promotion. So I just want to tap into, how important is it to you that we pursue continuous learning, professional certifications, and visibility in the workplace, and most importantly, strategic thinking around advancing your career in the competitive industries these days?
Clementine, you know that I've always said continuous learning. You know, it's a continuous improvement. Make sure that your toolkit has everything. Your toolkit, you know, when you want a spanner, find a spanner in your toolkit. So basically for me, it is making sure that that becomes your ultimate currency in terms of long-term employability. You know, in a fast evolving economy, a degree is not sufficient. Now we're looking at project management, agility. You know, people are not learning. You want to sit in a boardroom. What about corporate governance? Why are you not? You know, people are talking about now non-finance for financial managers. Why are you not getting into AI university and then tap? Because what is important is making sure that your toolkit will take you to another level. It is not the responsibility of your employer. you know, we will develop you within. You know, I come from maybe a sugar industry where those days they just needed to make sure that you've got the qualification, you can do the job. But those days, what was important was you being able to be aligned in terms of continuous learning and making sure that you get all the things that will make, for instance, problem solving, negotiation skills. It is your responsibility so that you are sellable in an economy that is very competitive.
And, you know, that ties so much to, you know, the question that we're leading to, Mrs. Ngcobo, because usually before we get to the qualification part, you have to choose the career. And as young people, sometimes I think Dr. JJ will tell us how he chose, you know, to be a medical professional. Was it because of the salary, family pressure, or like popularity? And those are the factors that, well, even in now time, you know, they say, go be a teacher because, you know, maybe you're guaranteed a job. Go be a nurse. We choose careers off of popularity, family pressure, and of course, salary expectations. What are some of the factors that we should now consider in today's economy, you know, when picking our professions?
Topelo, we are moving into the 4th or 5th industrial revolution. You know, align yourself. Understand? Mom will say to you, you make a good doctor because you're kind, you're compassionate, etc. You understand? Because, you know, and everybody, and then somebody will say you will make a good lawyer. Understand? And the question is, law, for instance, I did law. It's, the market is saturated. There's no more, you know, it's very saturated. You've got lawyers who are sitting at home, but they can't. It's either you become a human resources. So what you take is you look at a combination of this that you can do, you understand, in terms of the career. Look at what is there. Right now, it's coding, it's, you know, digitization. What is your passion? What is your gift as well? You know yourself. I think for me, it is making sure that you're aligned to the demands that are currently globally. There is so much demand. I'll give an example, you know, with the issues of airspace, for instance. You know, currently, we're needing lots of pilots, people with aviation. That skill is not there. We have to borrow it. And you have our Maswati who can do that. How many Maswati are pilots? How many of our are engineers in, you know, the deeper things of where the country is going, climate change. Those are the skills. Look at what is happening, and then we'll be able to then align yourself to the demands.
Wow, that's very impactful. I think speaking about alignment is really such an important way to just, you know, provide clarity about this. And I think maybe if I'm a young person sitting at home watching this show, what mindset should I adopt? I've entered this graduate trainee program, I've entered this internship, or this is my first job. What mindset and what quality will make me stand out and transition into full-time employment?
Michelle, you know, I go back to when I was a young girl. I started doing work at 7. I started cooking for a family of 15, you know, and I did washing, understand? That's a skill set. I can always use it, right? As I grew into high school, I used to volunteer at Cell's house. You know, I walked in and I said, how can I help? Yeah, but, and you know, there's these machines, you know, the till, and, you know, so I used to go in there after my class on Saturdays and volunteer, and they would pay me, and that used to be bus fare. So the mindset, girl, and you guys out there, it's a sponge. Try and, you know, and that makes you stand out. I stood out. There was this girl who was at Cell's house. I moved. When I was preparing for university, I went and I packed, I was a parcel, you know, packing sugar at Pick and Pay. And at some point they realized, they moved me to the office, and I was doing account. I went to university. When I was at university, I was doing a lot of social other, you know, work outside. So be a sponge, want to learn, you understand? Because you're trying to find where you're good at. Cooking, for instance. Now I cook. People ask for me, you know, and say, come and cook for us, even in the church. The setting where you are, whatever, leave a footprint of who you are. Be a sponge, absorb as much as you want so that at least something comes out. So the mind, don't be a stereotyped and be, you know, this, I can't do this, I can't, you know, I think it's the attitude. I thank you.
Wow.
Yeah. No, those are great. And I think the aspects especially of being a sponge and leaving a footprint are really important. But sometimes it's a bit difficult, say, for example, when you're applying for a job. And I'm sure you've seen thousands and thousands of CVs before, you know. So when you look at that and when you see a CV, what then, if someone can't speak to you and you can't see them yet, what stands out in the CV? What makes one jump to you and say, I want to continue reading this one? Or what makes another one mean, I'll just throw it away and I don't want to look at it anymore?
JJ, I've already said, you know, don't, you know, you're not old-fashioned. You are now, you understand it traditionally, you know, it's personal details, you know, you know, and then, you know, it's somewhere there in the corner, it's going to be, you know, some people put their picture, you understand, which is a good thing. You know, this is digitization. And then your personal profile, who are you, you know, and your value proposition, your achievements, you understand, and just make it stand out in such a way that, you know, even the qualification, if you say a qualification, well, now we have to go and vet that qualification. Why are you not even putting when you receive, when did you get that qualification? You're putting maybe a master's or my doctorate, but you don't say, let it talk so that when I go, I just page once, you understand? I need to go, you know, and scan it quickly. And I must find even the age. You guys are hiding the age, you understand? And then the achievements, you know, you will find that this is a CV that I can say a culture fit because of the words that they have expressed in terms of their personality, you know, the teachability, you know, you already see in the CV, this person has applied themselves. It's just not, you know, and you customize it to what the position wants, but don't use too much AI, you understand? That is, let it be authentic and original, but at the same time with a flair of contemporary so that it can attract.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ngcobo, for that. It's truly, truly insightful. I think maybe some of us are actually guilty of some of these mistakes. But let's say now I've actually put in the effort to make sure that my CV stands out. It's relevant to the times, and I have been called for an interview. So what are now then the mistakes that you have seen through your experience through interviews that continue to cost candidates opportunities? And if you're in a position right now coaching someone for an interview that they'll be going for tomorrow, what are the 3 pieces of advice that you would give them?
Simbo, it's very hard. You know, practice makes perfect for me, practice, because you get this child or young graduate from Lavumisa, you know, never has had the opportunity. So for me, it is starting the fear factor. You know, the heart is pumping. And, you know, the first mistake is that they probably got a call and then they didn't prepare. They had a lot of anxiety, you know. And then you know what is happening because of unemployment. You know, the preparation is very, very key, right? So prepare, research, do your, but more than anything, it's the nerves. So you find a young person coming in and starting to be fidgety. Yeah, but you know this, and because it's the nerve. So the first thing that I do is take a position, and all of you have taken a position. You can see you have been groomed, right? You have gone through, but what about this young, you know, gentleman from Makutulwini who is really not even, and the culture, you know, the mistake, you know, doing this and not looking at you in the eye. So take a position that is comfortable, all right? So the preparation, and then research about the organization that you're going, you know, Ngcobo. And then somebody says to me, what is Ngcobo? You understand? Or what is Mondelez? You are called for an interview at MTN, you know, Swazi Mobile. You know, prepare yourself for the research even about the job itself, all right? But don't go too much, because again, what's going to happen is that you may even, trip a little bit, you understand, because there's so much. And then, speak passionately about even your past. Let us say you have been at PSPF, and you left. Now, the negativity of what happened, because you're going to sit across a person that has been there or is your potential, and then negativity. And then for me, it is when you are giving your answers, you understand, they ask you a question. There's what you call a star principle, if try and expand and read the room, you understand? The star principle will tell you what is the situation, what is the task, what did you achieve, the results, you understand? So in that, but what is very, very critical is that confidence. But it mustn't border around arrogance, you understand, and aggression, you understand? So it is taking and preparing, sitting, in front of a mirror and speak it, you understand, and research, and finally it's making sure that you are heard. Thank you.
Okay. Right. Thank you so much, Ngcobo. That's a wonderful response, and I love that it's bordering around coaching and also guiding and also just opening the eyes of the young graduate or young professional. Now, understanding that mentorship is at the heart of this program, a lot of people would like to find out from you that when looking back, do you have a particular mentor who has helped shape you and groom you, and how did that person have an impact and play a role in your success today?
Yeah, you always want to have a role model, you understand? Yeah. You always want to have somebody that you can tap into and ask. I've already given you some of the things that I did when I was a young girl. For instance, the Edgar's that it is today, Sales House, you understand? I still pride myself. I'll go there because that was how they dressed, you understand? May their soul rest in peace, all of them. You were my mentors, have passed on. There were managers at Edgar's, and that is where I worked. It was the way they dressed, showing up, understand, and the way they spoke to me, and then the customer service. I always wanted to, have that. So that was during, and then go to university, you have mentors. You are looking at the lawyers and you're thinking, okay, I want to be, again, may their souls rest in peace, the Shulubane Associates, those were my mentors, being able to say I'm going to this firm, the Lindifas, Mambas, the Colin Diwanes, the Robinson and Bertram, those were some. And then there are women as well, you understand? Yeah. Because, you will find as a woman, there will be male chauvinist, you understand? And you want this woman that you are going to say, who, I look and I say, Gracia Michelle, the Winnie Madigizelas. For me, the Michelle Robinson, I call her my sister, I'm a Robinson. Those are the women. And then you look and you say, I'm an Iron Woman, the Margaret Thatchers. There are people that and you're saying to myself, I'm not going to be walked over. There are role models in Swaziland, for instance, the Tokis, you understand? Yeah. She's a sister, and when I look up to her and I say, you understand, textile industry in Eswatini, the Savannas, the minister, in Eswatini, and you look at, and the Lindiwe, Ngcobo, Lamini, parliamentarians, there are so many. But what is it that you are looking for? You are looking for mentors that are going to have an impact. The Dr. Matsebulas from, there's so many. You are looking and saying, what can I gain? What can I take away? What is it that I want to become in the near future? These are the role models. Let me not be, the one who's going to bring them down.
Wow. Beautiful. And we absolutely love that, someone who inspires us, and so many young people in Eswatini is also inspired, by other people right here in Eswatini. You don't have to take it as far as America, if we can find people right here in the Kingdom of Eswatini, all the better for us. Ngcobo, we will be taking a short commercial break just to absorb all of the information that we've had. And then after the break, we do continue, speaking about personal branding and so much more. But that is only when we return.
inspired by my parents. They are individuals who are committed to growth, service, and excellence despite challenges. I'm inspired by them because I've seen them create opportunities for others, and I've seen the positive impact that they have on their respective communities.
I mean, I find inspiration from a plethora of places. I think you could find inspiration from the woman who's selling, vegetables on the street. You could find it from the child who's striving. So I wouldn't say I have a specific role model, but I do draw inspiration from my parents as well, who I've seen, lift themselves out of poverty.
I am inspired by everyone who is doing well within their lives, because that's what I want to do. I want to be great at what I do and be known for being great at what I do.
I am inspired by people who I've grown up around, specifically your local hero. And it would be easy to look at drawing people from the international space, looking at people who have achieved a lot, but my inspiration comes from the people who have been able to make it work. Your mothers, your fathers, your grandmothers, and even your extended family that has been able to make a plan at every given time.
Aside from world domination, my future goals are to be an active participant in the growth of Eswatini. I think that this country has tremendous opportunity and potential, and I want to be a participant in that growth.
To be a business owner and a leader, but not just one that's successful, but one that people actually want to come work with, and they feel as if they grow within their lives and they get better on, and when they leave, they're like, that was an experience I could never replace again.
One of my future goals is to actually continue to grow in the human capital field. I do hope that as I grow my career, I will help contribute to the development of the country, as well as creating more opportunities for other younger people, and also just serve as an example that a young person can actually achieve success with dedication, continuous learning, and perseverance.
My current goals are to make a way for myself within Eswatini, making people understand that wellness is not just about talking. There's so many approaches. As somebody who is going to be injecting that new radical approach, I'm hoping that generations from both your senior executives that are coming out of the working biz into the new youth, mine is to introduce new and exciting ways of making sure that we're all healthy, efficient, and effective people within the workspace while helping each other grow.
Hello and welcome back. If you just joined us, you are tuned into the platform. This is a mentorship-based television program. And today at the head of the table, we have a trusted voice in Eswatini's human resources and business community. We are speaking to the managing director of AM Recruitment Services, Mrs. Carol Ngcobo. We've had such an interesting conversation before the break, but it continues. Luckily for you, if you just joined us, I'm sure you can absorb as much information from this session as the others did from the previous one. Welcome back to everyone.
Thank you.
And we're still fired up.
Good.
And just to start it off, we've seen that Ngcobo, recruiters mostly search online for their candidates. In ways that we wouldn't even fathom, we wouldn't even know before hiring us. How important is personal branding for us as young people, and how does a professional brand look for a young person? Because
Chapelo,
I wanted to say something. Sorry.
Okay, sure. Personal branding is non-negotiable. You're all brands here.
Yes.
Okay, I'm a brand. You this is when you walk in, and you've got to take, your position. And when I leave here, you're going to say something about me. Personal branding, it's what people say about you after you've left. We've seen personal branding, with a lot of corporates. You understand? Some will wear a uniform to brand themselves. Some of us will just wear what we want to wear, feel comfortable. I used to wear uniform all my life, but you expect some kind of professional, visibility and making sure that you are there, consistency. You also make sure that your personal branding is punctual. When I walked in here, they said, on time, 10 o'clock I was here. I could have been earlier. Reliability, it's a brand, it's your brand. Just clean, just you smelling good, feeling good. You know, that's a brand. Walk tall, it's a brand. You understand? How you speak to people, you understand? That is a brand. So branding yourself, I think it's non-negotiable. You've got to set the tone, and so that people can be able to come to you. Okay, so that is it.
Yeah, Mapoloba. No, I love that you said it's non-negotiable, you know, to have a personal brand. And, you know, in today's digital age where employers often review candidates' online presence, you know, we all have a digital footprint. And how important is, you know, the personal branding, and how can young professionals use platforms like LinkedIn to build their networks, to create opportunities, and I think most importantly, avoid mistakes that could harm career prospects?
Michelle, you know, your LinkedIn page is your 24/7 digital platform. That's where people are going to find you. You know, at 12 o'clock, I'm already thinking right now, I'm looking for an insurance guru, you understand? And I go in there, you know, at 12 o'clock when I don't have sleep, and I look. So that is your presence, okay? And how you use it to connect with me and others is very important, you understand? At a certain level of operation, okay? I now can see what you put on LinkedIn. The level of operation is very important. And don't make the mistake of putting content that is not going to go down very well. You understand? Because definitely it's going to be controversial. Okay? And we look at that, and we go in those pages and we look, how are you presenting this profile? You understand? So for me, it becomes your footprint. So digitization in terms of social media, even your Facebook page, by the way, I go in there, even your TikTok, your Instagram, you know, there's certain things that if you're wanting to push your agenda and push your branding and push you, you know, it's about you, but let the world outside there not have this nasty taste of you. And you know, and they're saying, hey, mbani yenalo.
No, I think that's wonderful, and I think it speaks to a lot of aspects of who we need to be, especially within the professional space, and then how we can approach people when you want to network as well. And I think that also is important for some young people, because you know the saying goes, your network is your net worth. But there are people that feel as if they don't have the networks, or maybe even their families don't have the networks themselves. So what would you say to someone to build opportunities where they feel as if they may not have the networks, or their family doesn't have the networks that can help them get opportunities?
You know, JJ, as I'm sitting here, I'm looking at the next network. There's a gala dinner by Business Eswatini. You understand? It's there. It's a network platform. You understand? I spoke about your networking is your net worth. You understand? If people don't see you, you understand? How are you going? And for me, if you want to light a candle, biblically, put your candle on the table. You can't put it underneath. How are people going to see you? Be the salt of the world. Go out there, and so people can taste you, understand? And see, Dogodel, are you going to the UNESCO conference on 3rd of August, health, you know? So it's there. The platforms are there. The issue of saying, I can't make it, it's a fear factor. You know, you are fearing not, yes, if you're unemployed, you know, this morning I was reading about the University of UNESCO. It's 100 rand. For people who are working, it's 300. But go there, you know, show up, be there, be present, feel, speak, and like minds, you understand? So at least you'll be sharing. And the networks, it is the platform. If you don't network, you stay behind.
Thank you so much for that, Ngcobo. I think it would be very, very helpful for our young Eswatini people, because not a lot of them have those networks or the influential families. But now going into the workplace, walk into almost any office today and you'll see a massive generational divide. We have a tech-savvy young generation, us young professionals coming into the workplace, and we are finding our senior leadership there who are still quite very much traditional in their approaches in terms of can be their communication styles, their ideas of authority, so on and so forth. I would just like to hear your take in terms of what advice would you give to a young person now entering the workspace in terms of how they should balance the respect that is owed to the traditional senior leadership, as well as them still demonstrating initiative, being innovative and agile, and still building that strong work relationship across the disparity.
It is a concern, okay, and I should say that it's there, right? You as the employer, you know, you want to be the employer of choice, and then you are walking in and you are finding, you know, somebody, you know, who is elderly. For me, it is really being respectful, okay? I think that humility and just having that right attitude, because you know, as you grow older, you want to advise. And young people don't want to be advised all the time, but you have to balance it. And more than anything, it's being able to say, this person is as old as my mother, you understand? And this person is my age group. And so you will find that you have to balance it. And this is your emotional intelligence, self-mastery, you know, the issues of emotion regulation, you know, the issues of, is it a high-pressured environment? How do I balance this? Even your sociability, you know. So for me, it is being able to say, I understand, but at the same time, I'm going into this organization, I'm going to learn. Let me try and understand their culture. So yes, to a certain extent, we need to be able, it's striking the balance. It's not easy from first day, but it's there, it can be done.
Thank you so much, Ngcobo. Speaking of things that are not easy, many young professionals are uncomfortable with discussing money. How can someone effectively, respectfully as well, negotiate their salary confidently without appearing entitled? And when is the right time to really ask for the salary raise? And what mistakes do most young people or just generalized employees make when bridging this conversation?
You know, Clementine, being honest, you know, because I'm able to pick up, understand. And those are some of the traits that I will ask you, how much do you think you're worth? Okay? Yes, negotiations, you know, as you gain experience, but you are a new entrant into the market. This morning, you know, a young guy from Mozambique is creating an app, a recruitment app. You know, he speaks very good English. And you can see, you know, he's educated, he's done this in Mozambique. But because of our perception, you understand, you know, of him, because he's from Mozambique, you think it's cheap labor. It is not. You need to understand at the level at which he's operating, he's creating an app, you understand? So now, being honest is very critical. You are sitting at home and you are at zero. All right, but your worth, for me, it is demonstrating your worth. Now, you're coming in as a graduate and you're saying, you know, the market right now, as a graduate, the competitive is around 10,000. But will you not take 2,000? Will you not take 3,000? You know, the Eswatini Youth Empowerment Program, for instance, will start you at 3. You understand? Now, you need to gauge and don't shoot yourself on the foot, you understand, by demanding. But the basic things is that, for me, it's looking at, you will have to buy roll-on, you will have to buy food, don't even undercut yourself, so you can't even come to work You understand? So a market related, you understand? But at the same time, look at the level at which you are entering in the organization. I'll just give an example. There is a company from the US. They're asking us, they're saying the employees feel that they are not being remunerated well. So we now need to do a market search. For instance, an accountant, a new accountant entering, graduate, 10, 15, as you gain experience. So the right time, wait for them to actually, how much are you worth, Clementine? Clementine is going to say, I've got 10 years experience. I'm now worth 40 grand. And because of 1, 2, 3, you understand? And she is, but she could be even more, because if it was a company that is in South Africa, they could give her 80, you understand? So you also look at where you are placed. Doctors, you understand? In Eswatini government, what is the rate? You're coming and you're saying you're going to be then benchmarking it with the US. It's not going. You look at where you are positioned. I think for me, it is basically say, if I can negotiate, yes, always good to earn more. But at the same time, be practical and real and look at the organization that you're coming to serve. As SME, for instance, you're coming to say and tell me that you're wanting 50. I will tell you, let us make the money and you will get the money. It's not falling from trees, eh? You understand? It's not government, but even with government, it's not falling from trees. Currently, government is having, make your worth, you understand? Then you can be remunerated accordingly.
Yeah. I like that, now we've moved into placement and salaries, so we can confidently speak about money, especially in the workplace. There's a growing belief that, changing jobs frequently can lead to higher salaries. But obviously, just as an individual, if I get a better offer somewhere else, I'm bouncing, right? But we also need to try and understand if this is a sustainable strategy in the long term, and when does job mobility become just a red flag, like moving from SPAR to Pick and Pay, from Pick and Pay to the next, better job?
Tapelo, it is difficult, you understand. You want to job hop. You understand, because you're trying to gain this experience, okay? As you were speaking, I could hear, I've been in the hospitality industry, I've been in this, and, it's good, short term, it's long term as you grow, right? You could be a doctor at the Mbabane Government Hospital. You could be a doctor at the clinic. You could be a doctor at EPH, for instance. But at the same time, it becomes a red flag if you are not even staying 6 months. What's wrong? Are you stable? Are you reliable? 18 months. Okay, fine. But the trajectory is such that you need to be able to plan what you want, okay? For me, that's having a red flag. You understand? Basically. So, and employers, corporate and other, they're looking for loyalty. They're not looking for somebody who's going to bow down to them, but at some point, make sure that at least, once it's every year, yes, you're looking for money, but at the end of the day, and we are, as employers, the first question they will ask, why did you leave your previous employer? And then a 360, 360 degree, anonymous reference check will say, hey, lawyer, utsanzi mali. It is good. We all want money, you understand? We want to create wealth, but at what expense, you understand? So for me, it is good, but at the same time, make sure that it doesn't then start becoming a red flag, that thing, and saying,
yeah. Yeah. Wow. I mean, I think that's such a good way to look at it, that there needs to be a balance. And we sit here as members of various organizations or even entrepreneurs, and people are often described as an organization's greatest asset, the human capital behind an organization. So why is effective human resource management so important in attracting, developing, and retaining talent? Because you can offer the huge salary increase or the huge salary bump and other benefits, but how does actual human resource management contribute to overall organizational success?
It is a a difficult question because, human resources is specialized, you understand. It's not all organizations that are going to have very sound human resources. And you want to put the dipstick, you go into an organization and you say, this organization, it's very, very important, you understand, to make sure that we've got frameworks, we've got policies, we've got procedures, and because you're walking in and you want to also just test the culture, the values. So for me, I can never say that human resources will be extinct, for instance. It's going to be there. And what we're doing now is making sure that we are merging it, with every profession. For instance, doctor, he has to be able to be exposed to human resources, how to treat, how to work with other people. What is it that you have to say and not say? Because right now, we all have rights, and how you handle HR can have a huge impact on your organization. There are pros and cons for it. So mine is to basically say it's very, very critical that we have a very good human resources, balance in an organization, because it's where the heart of the organization. People, yes, we'll automate, but at the end of the day, it's how you treat me and how we are actually making sure that labor laws and other, rules we need to work around certain frameworks in HR. I thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. I think that's really important, especially with regards to saying that HR is the heartbeat of any company. And more often than not, every company has specific ways in which they want to work, their vision, their morals, and their ethics. But sometimes you find that there are a couple of bad apples. And as a young professional, you may get into a job and you have a supervisor who then may ask you to do something that probably goes against your professional ethics or your morals. And particularly looking at the fact that we're in Eswatini and it's a very respect-based culture. So what should a young professional do when posed with this situation, and what does it then do for their credibility and the integrity of them as a professional moving forward?
Dr. JJ, it's a thorny subject, okay? We're moving from a traditional, right? Where somebody, at a certain age, my generation, loklonipa, respect, how far does it go, understand? And the value system, how have you been taught at home, your values in this, and the values of the organization. When we were growing, they would even touch your cheek, touching my cheeks. That time, now, where we are, you understand, and patting me on the shoulder, patting on the shoulder and then touching me, you understand? Again, that is, so what needs to happen is that we need to create awareness, educate, induct. As you come into the organization, we need to have induction program that say, don't touch, because right now there is a lot of mental, psychological, sexual harassment. You understand? As a male, a female, for me it doesn't matter. You've got to draw the line, and you will find a boss that says, go and get my bag from the car, you understand? Or please get me lunch, But the question is, what's the intention, you understand? Is there an ulterior motive? How do you actually see that? So yes, it is very critical to be able to say no, okay? And a no is an answer. Yes. Don't touch me. Don't do this, you understand? But yeah. You will start, maybe initially you try and say it, okay? And they ignore you. And they say something like, what's your problem? I do think you're special, you understand? Have that conversation. And if the conversation is not going well, find somebody else to talk to. But don't keep quiet, because in Eswatini, it's coming out and we're seeing it, and fortunately we are guarding against it. As employers, we're very concerned about that. Creating decent work Okay, the agenda at ILO, you will find the decent work, how you treat mental health, psychology. So it's a topic that we all have to be educated. Awareness, awareness, and awareness.
Thank you so much for that. And in that same breath, I think we truly get to learn and realize the importance of employee wellness. It's no longer a just by the way thing now. It is of paramount importance. And Stephen Bartlett once said, your mental health is far more important than your career, your bank balance, and even your family's wishes. And burnout, we see it becoming more increasingly common with our young people. So what practical advice would you give to our ambitious young people such as ourselves to try and balance the pressures of work, the success, the family, the personal life? How can we do it?
Sibo, it's very, very difficult. I don't want to lie to you because of the generation. Before, they would say, persevere, begetela, resilience, you understand? That's the era I grew up, and we didn't know about burnout, you understand? We didn't know about stress, These are things that are coming up now, you understand? Because maybe during those eras, our parents were there, we were able to open, Right now, because of digitization and all the things you find that people are not talking, you understand? On their gadgets. For me, it is saying create those social networks where you can be able to discuss these issues, you understand? And I must be honest, it's a new phenomenon, you understand? Mental health, burnout. If you're a parent that hasn't experienced it, you understand, then you're lucky. But the generation that we have now, you guys are going through that. For me, it is saying, Clementine, you have, you're a wellness practitioner, you have a psychologist, but can you tap into those, you understand? I would encourage you to speak out so that you get help as opposed to then ending up in a psychiatric center, because and that is the truth. The truth is we're seeing young people not able to cope because there are no interventions. If you are able to have those interventions, the world of work really have to have those interventions now. It's no longer that era. It's paramount that we have those interventions because we're seeing a lot of psychological and psychiatric issues in Eswatini. So yes, it is an agenda that has to be on the table. Every workplace, it must be an agenda top priority.
Thank you so much for that, Mrs. Ngcobo. I think my question is probably going to touch on that. In the economy we live in now, young people have no choice but to work. And I think that's why we get to the burnout stage. And my question is, many people spend years earning an income, but they never really get to taste that financial freedom. What financial habits should young professionals, and then this is based on what you've seen on the ground, what you've heard, and also just touching base with people on a one-to-one, what are these financial habits that young people should develop from their very first paycheck? And maybe just pegging on that, do you believe that everybody should be investing their money? Should everybody be putting their money into being an entrepreneur or building additional resources? In your opinion, do you think it's feasible?
Clementine, I wish and honestly believe that this question I was asked when I started working, understand? Because, you guys are now, everything is there, okay? We were told to work and study and go to work. Okay? The University of Swaziland unfortunately never taught us financial management. Okay? It never taught us, entrepreneurship. But now these things are there, you understand? So for me, your first paycheck, you understand? In the past, party. So, and then you were just, for me, it's financial literacy, budgeting, and saving and investing. Ladies and gentlemen, I really need to say, you know what? The best medicine best medicine in this world is money. Yeah? If you don't have money, create wealth, okay? You know, so that you don't know what's going to happen to you tomorrow. You know, we are all able today. As I walk out of here, I may not be able, but create that save. You know, there's so many platforms, you know, your insurances, your financial management, you know, where the old mutuals, the oracles, the invest, the Stanley, the influencers, the, you know, African, you know, they are those platforms, you understand? The biggest problem is that we, those who are very fortunate because they were exposed, now it is very imperative that you save, find a way, and get out of debt. To look good, you don't have to go and get the Gucci. You know, you know, dress cheap, you know, but look good, feel good. You understand? It's even the lifestyle. Don't live beyond your means. You know, lifestyle. You want to drive a certain car. What's wrong with driving a car? You understand? An ordinary. But status. Yes, it's the era, okay? It is. But get there, don't force it. Because at the end of the day, what's happening is that we're seeing so many suicidal cases. You are not even able to buy yourself lunch. You understand? You're not even able to buy yourself rent. You understand? You are coming to work, you have not washed because there's no water. Water has been closed. And you are not, you know, leveraging on what you have and making sure that you have more. Yes, Clementine, a side kick, you know, a hustling business, whatever you're good at, do it after work. Why not make money? The bottom line is that we all, and I can tell you, the best medicine is money.
Definitely. I wish I could repeat that.
Right.
All together, guys. The best medicine is money. Unfortunately, Mrs. Ngcobo, in the interest of time, we have reached the end of our conversation. But, you know, if you could, please just share, you know, brief parting words to the youth of Eswatini. Just one message about work, purpose, and building a successful career.
Tapelo, to all the young people, it's not doom and gloom. Understand? Be optimistic. We can turn this thing around. You understand? Employability, yes. You know, make sure that you are there. Push your agenda. Be present on the table. And for me, it is making sure that continuous learning, you know, and making sure that you learn until, you know, at the end of the day, like I said, if you are able to create jobs, create them. Let's partner us. You understand? This is a new company that I'm seeing. You understand? I'm seeing SIBO, I'm seeing JJM. Why not create employment as opposed to being job seekers? So out there, you understand? We need an out. We are in a generation where we can do it. So open your mind and have this mindset that say we can do it. And it all is in your hands. You know, it's not gloom. We are moving into the first world. Bring out whatever you can that is going to sell and say, here is, you know, you understand, this is a product that we're bringing into the platform. Young people, you are the generation of, you know, you're the new generation. We're going to take a back seat. We want to see you in the boardrooms. We want you making sure that you take this nation to another level. So for me, it is, let us just open up and be our best and do our best, and God will do the rest. Thank you.
If we could. And only trusting that Simbo, Dr. JJ, Michelle, Clementine, you're definitely going to turn this ship around. You know, the future is definitely in your hands. For a better Eswatini, for a better tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me at this table. I couldn't have had any, you know, better participants to ask the questions with me. To our mentor, thank you so much for making time again to share your knowledge, your insights, your expertise, and, you know, your years of wisdom. We truly are parting with great motivation and something that, you know, we'll hold on as we go on with our careers. And thank you so much to you at home for making time to watch the platform. We hope that you were inspired, you were motivated. Stay tuned as we get to find out how our participants found this conversation.
You know, today's conversation was really impactful, and I think for me the key takeaway is just the ability to be intentional about how we brand ourselves, to position ourselves well, to show up well.
One piece of advice that I took away from today's session from the mentor that I think will stick with me forever is that don't be the job seeker, be the job creator.
She said a lot of different things, but ultimately I think continue learning, be adaptable, be a sponge, and always leave your footprint.
My key takeaways from today is your net worth is basically your network, and maybe it's time for us to look at moving from being job seekers to being job creators, and also just exploring the capacity that your authenticity allows you to thrive in this economy by doing things that are stuck to your personal branding. I think that's my key bucket of takeaways.
And that is how we conclude today's episode with our industry professionals and our industry leaders. A great thank you to you for sitting through what was an inspirational conversation with Mrs. Carol Ngcobo. Surely this inspired, motivated, and equipped you for the future. From myself, Tabula Dlamini, and the rest of the team, it is good night, God bless, and stay inspired.